There we go.
Yeah, there you go. It's been Caroline is recording it for us. So, right, and so excellent. Thank you very much for turning up, guys. This is the last user group of the year here in Adelaide, in South Australia. So, moving forward, we've got presenting today is Rajeev Panday, who's our Tableau visionary, and Rob Negerman, who is our data insights developer. They'll be doing a presentation, and Rajeev will be starting in the next couple of minutes. I just want to let you know again, like I said before, any questions you've got, please put it in the chat bar on the side, or unmute yourself and have a chat. That'd be fantastic to hear from you. Like I said, we're in Adelaide. If you want to join us, or you want to present our next user group, then please please don't be afraid, and let us know, and you get in touch with myself. I'm Rob here, working for DataSpark. That's a pretty fresh picture of me with a new haircut, so I'm quite proud of that. There's my contact details. So yeah, what we'll do is we'll kick off with Rajeev, now our Tableau visionary, and then we'll move on to Rob. A very, very quick mention as well, we've got another user group, I should say a Trailblazer, in Adelaide on Thursday. It's a Dreamforce run thing, so I'll put the link into the chat bar if anyone's interested in going to it. It's down at the Oval, but yeah, it's a Trailblazer thing from Salesforce. So yeah, you're more welcome to go along to that. It's free and free registration. So I'll put that in the chat bar as well. So anyway, Rajeev, onto yourself. Please take it away.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Let me quickly share my screen. Let me know once you guys are able to see my screen.
Yeah, all good, mate.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Rajeev. So today I'll be presenting a data cleanup technique. And I believe like whenever we are using any visualization, whether it's a simple visualization or a complex one, the first challenge what we are facing is data cleanup stuff. Like most of the data, whether it's a research data, whether it's a simple data, or it's coming from well-defined data pipeline data set, no matter what data we are using, we have to perform some cleanup. So I thought like, let's start something which is very basic. At the same time, I wanted to create something from Tableau instead of going some ETL tool like Aldrich or Nine. I don't want to use any other tool just to create a data cleanup. If I'm talking about a Tableau, I should 100% concentrate on Tableau. So this particular presentation talks about what all techniques Tableau provides through which we can perform a data cleanup inside Tableau desktop. And we'll go through that. There are other data cleanup tools which Tableau also provides, like Tableau Prep. But this particular presentation mostly focuses on Tableau desktop. And I'll give you a couple of tips and tricks how exactly you can perform those cleanup techniques using Tableau desktop. So this is a small introduction about me and my dog, Zoe. So myself, Rajeev, I'm a Tableau Gen Master. Now it's a Tableau Visionary and a Tableau Gen Master featured author and data evangelist from India. Currently, I'm part of AirAsia, and my main job is to take care of entire data pipeline and make sure like whatever data visualization or whatever data storing which we are telling, it should be more meaningful so that the stakeholders, whoever is taking decision, they can not only see dashboard as a dashboard, but based on their strategy, based on their tactical decision, they can act upon it. So that's the sole purpose of being part of AirAsia. So I have my own website also. If you would like to explore, the name of my website is Wizard Panday. If you want to connect me, any of the social media would be fine, Twitter or LinkedIn, and this is where I'm available. You just search with Rajeev and probably you can find me. So without any further ado, let's begin how exactly we can do the data cleanup. Now, before data cleanup, first we need to understand why exactly we want to perform a data cleanup technique, why it is needed. Don't we consider that whatever data we are using, that's 100% correct? Can we say that? Logically, yes, but technically, no. No data is 100% correct data. And that's why everyone is saying bad data is no better than no data. If you are using a bad data, whatever decision which you are taking on top of that, that's meaningless. You won't be getting any fruitful decision based on the bad data. So first we have to identify what is a bad data or incorrect data. Then only we can perform some cleanup on top of that. So let's understand what exactly a bad data. So a very simple thing, whatever that comes as part of your analysis, we are considering as a data. but something which is stopping you from an insightful analysis, that we can consider it as a bad data. In a simple words, we can say data that gets in the way of your analysis is called bad data. And there could be it's not a simple definition that we can say that, okay, these are the criteria which we should follow, but still we are trying to categorize so that someone who is new to this particular journey, especially data visualization or storytelling journey, they should understand what all data can be considered as bad data. So first, misleading data. Sometimes what is happening whenever we are seeing a data, we don't know the actual source of truth, like where exactly this data is coming from. Is it 100% correct, or it's just an assumption, or is it an observation, or it is still in a hypothetical state? So there are a lot of follow-up questions which we need to understand whenever we are talking about data. And if we don't understand the actual source of data, it could be misleading. And a very common scenario which every data analyst faces in day-to-day life, like duplicate data. If you are using SQL, or if you are using any ETL tool, if you are not taking care, especially the duplicate data scenario, it will definitely give you a wrong outcome. A very simple example, if you are trying to project a revenue number, and if there is a duplicate data, you are not showing a correct projection of the revenue. So it will definitely lead to a bad decision. So we have to be very careful how exactly we are using the data. Now, when it comes to other data category, there could be an incorrect data and inaccurate data. There is a very thin line between when it comes to an incorrect data and inaccurate data. Incorrect data, if someone from that particular domain, or to be very precise, like if you are a subject matter expert, or if you are a SME, the moment you see the data, you know something is not right. I'm not saying that that data is correct, but there could be a 1% possibility that that's an incorrect data. So whenever you start your analysis, it's your first job to understand end-to-end data pipeline, that the data which you are receiving is fulfilling all the criteria which your business is looking for. Talk to different stakeholders, talk to subject matter expert, try to understand what all scenarios you have to take care, whether it's already been taken care, or you have to perform certain tasks, or you have to perform certain sort of data privacy layer. So there are a lot of follow-up questions which you need to ask whenever you are doing a data analysis. Sometimes what is happening whenever we are using a data, especially this is from the software engineering side, there could be some of the business rules which we have to add before ingesting data into our environment. And if your business rule is not 100% correct, then the data which you are ingesting, it's wrong. Just imagine if the data coming from the source is not correct, then whatever outcome that data is giving you, that will also be incorrect. So we have to be very careful what kind of data we are using. And last, and it's a very common thing if we are using some feedback data or some sort of NPS data, we often found that we are getting some incorrect data, mostly like the names are not correct, it's not properly spelled, some punctuation marks are missing. So these are a couple of things which we need to understand, and we can categorize those type of data as bad data. So once we know, okay, these are the bad data, what all steps we should do to remove those bad data from the existing data set, so that we can create a meaningful dashboard, or at least a report, so that everyone can use it without having second thoughts. Now, a very simple thing, like if you're having a bad data and if you're constantly working with bad data, you may get frustrated. And no matter whatever result that is coming from your workflow will not give you a correct outcome. So we have to be very careful right from the step one, even before ingesting the data. Talk to your stakeholder, try to understand the business. So what all things they are looking for. Do we need to take any special scenario before ingesting that data? There are a lot of follow-up questions which you need to ask. I always prefer, like whenever you are starting any project, try to give more time during the requirement gathering session. Then only you can understand what is right, what is wrong. Once you get that idea, then only start with your data. Because if you don't understand in and out of the business, it would be very difficult to tell a effective story. So be very careful during the step one. Then the moment you realize that, okay, everything is as per the standard, then only start your data analysis. Now, we know that we have a bad data, but what all steps we should do? how exactly we can perform certain steps so that the data which we are getting should be 100% appropriate. Even after performing some data cleanup stuff, we will not be sure that the data what we will project, that will be 100% accurate. And data analysis is not a 100% end goal for whatever dashboard which you are creating. It should be an iterative process. You have to ask questions, you have to understand, you have to think how exactly you can make this entire process efficient for your end users. So this is an ongoing process, more like an iterative process. And the more you understand your business, it would be a lot easier for you to perform data cleanup. So what exactly a data cleanup? It's a process where you are making it sure whatever data which you are using either for your reporting or data visualization should be correct, consistent, and usable. Why I am emphasizing on consistent? Because if you added some rule while doing a data cleanup, and if next month if that rule is not following as per the standard, then again you started getting the wrong data. So whatever logics, whatever business rules which you are implementing, you should you should add some sort of checkup so that every time whatever data which you are getting, it should be consistent, it should not change with time. So be very careful whenever you are doing a data cleanup, and it's one of the primary steps whenever you are doing a data cleanup. Now, once we are done with data cleanup, what all benefits we can get? So first, if your data is 100% accurate, your decision making would be good. You are not doing something which is not correct. You are using the data which is coming from users, and you are taking decision on top of that. So your decision making process should be as good as with clean data. Now, once your decision-making process is good, you can streamline the entire business practices. You should not invest too much time doing the same repetitive work. So you can invest more time on doing other stuff. So definitely it will save time and increase your productivity. Once you streamline the entire business practices, it will definitely boost results because you are taking some tactical and insightful decision on top of the data. So try to understand why data cleanup is needed before your data analysis. Now, whenever it comes to a data set, there could be two types of data set which we are using most of the time. One could be a wide tables where we have more number of columns, and other could be a long tables where we have more number of rows. Now, we have to understand whenever we are defining a storyline, talk to your stakeholders, come up with a wireframe or prototype that what kind of story they are looking for. Are they comfortable with an aggregated data, or they are looking for a detailed level analysis? Is it meant for a C-level dashboard? Will summary level dashboard fulfill all the requirement, or you have to include a detailed level analysis? Try to talk to your end users, understand their problem statement, and then come up with a desired wireframe. Don't just jump into the data set and start dashboard creation, because every user is different, their requirement is different, their thought process is different. So you have to be very careful whenever you are designing any dashboard using your data set. Now, enough theoretical knowledge about data cleanup. Let's do some hands-on, and we'll see how exactly data cleanup would be helpful and what all steps one should do if you are facing these common issues with your data set. So as I mentioned during the start of this session, I'll be mainly using Tableau desktop, and I'll give you a couple of ideas how exactly you can use in your project without depending on any other ETL tool. Okay, so let me just open the data set. So just okay. So this is the data set. So I just downloaded it from this website, as you can see. I'll save this PPT, and you can just click on this link and you can download this. And you will see this is a census data where the reason why exactly I opted this data, because this is a perfect example which we are getting quite often. Like whenever we are getting a data either in the form of G sheet or Excel sheet, most of the time data is not correct, and we have to perform some cleanup on top of that. So I thought, like, let's use some data which is easy for this particular use case. So I'm using a census data, and this is the data set which I downloaded. Now I'm giving you 5 minutes. I wanted you to just do a bird's eye view and understand what all problems you are seeing here. And as a data analyst, as a data engineer, what all steps one should do so that the analysis which you are doing on top of this data set should be meaningful. So this is the data set. I'm just scrolling, and we have some US states, we have yearly population. So you have 5 minutes. Just see what all steps which you can take if you want to perform certain data cleanup. There could be a possibility whenever we are getting a data, we are getting data like this only, and we cannot directly import that data. And I'll show you why exactly we cannot do that, and why we need a data cleanup before we start the data storytelling or dashboard creation. So just take 5 minutes, go through this data set. If you want me to scroll, we can scroll as well, and you can see the entire data set, and just let me know what all steps which you want to perform as a data analyst.
Rajeev, could you put that link into the chat?
Okay, just a moment. Can someone, okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Rajeev.
Yeah. Any point would be good. Like you have this data set, you have US states, you have individual year, and you want to perform like simple analysis, like you want to create a map and you want to show which particular states are having maximum population, or you want to show some sort of trend.
Do you find there's a popular choice, Rajeev, when you ask people to do this? Is there a popular data set that people want to use?
Yes, yep. So sometimes what is happening, like whenever we are getting a data, at least in my case, like we are using GCP as one of our cloud, but whenever we are dealing with the stakeholders, they are using Excel or GC. So they will often give this type of data set without giving proper clarity. They want us to create some sort of dashboard. So I just wanted to create a very realistic scenarios for everyone, so that whoever is using this type of data set, they should know what all things they should look into before starting their data analysis or like dashboard creation.
Okay.
So, okay, so I'll share this data set and you can go through that. So we can just proceed. So this is the data set, and this is the data set which we are talking about. So a very simple thing, whenever we are using a data set, it basically, if data is not clean, as I keep on saying the same thing and repeating the same thing, the outcome which we are getting, we will not be getting a correct outcome. So we have to be very careful what all data we are importing inside any data visualization, irrespective of Tableau or Power BI or any other Tableau, any other tool which you are aware of. So this is the data set. So first, what all challenges we are facing? So let me first load this data set, and then probably it will make more sense why exactly we need to perform a data cleanup. So let's take an example. Okay, just allow me a minute. Sorry for the inconvenience. Okay, let's do it a bit later. So I'm just trying to load.
So is it correct to say that you have a number of like intermediaries, summaries in there, like you have additional regions, Northwest, East, which are comprised of a couple states, and you have a double count of the
Absolutely
population.
correct.
Same
Yep,
for the
yep,
United.
you are
Okay, yep, got it.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely. This is one of the points which I was looking for. Would you like to give it another try? But you're absolutely correct. This is one of the reasons which we will be explaining in a few minutes. So double counting is one of the stuff. And what could be the other possibility which you can see, which you want to remove during your early cleanup step?
You have different countries in there. So you have summaries on the country level, and then you have summaries on the state level. So it's all different level of granularities. You would probably want to align it to the similar level. If it's country, it's country. If it's state, right?
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. What else? Okay, so let me
I
just
don't know.
give
You have notes in there, some free text. Yeah, there's a lot of junk in here.
absolutely correct. So this is the second point. You're absolutely right. So we have some other footer information which is not needed, and I'll tell you why exactly these informations are not needed. So let me just tell you what all things we need to look into, and I'll show you why these informations are needed. As you rightly mentioned, like we may end up with double counting because we have a reason as well as we have individual states. So if we are trying to show, either we have to make sure the granularity should be same. If we are talking in terms of a state, everything should be in terms of a state. If we are talking in terms of reason, it should be in terms of reason. We should not end up double counting. So this is the first check which we should do. Second, when we are talking about this, you can see row number 61, there is an empty row. So when you upload this data, you may end up with null value, right? So you know this is not needed and you are not missing any data. So you can remove row number 61 because this is just an empty cell that is not needed or this will not help in any of your analysis. Third, as you rightly mentioned, we have some footer information. This is good if we are presenting this information in the form of Excel. But when we are talking about a storyline or when we are talking in terms of dashboard creation, these footer information would not be helpful. You can use same type of information. You can add that as a caveat so that whoever is going through the dashboard, they can see those information. But as part of your data ingestion, these footer information is not needed. Now, fourth one, if you see closely, and I'll show you here, when I am using this particular state, you can see there is a dot. Is it visible? So for every state, there is a dot or a period symbol as part of the prefix. So when you load these data set, you will realize that instead of considering this as a geographic area, Tableau will consider it as a string. So if you want to create some sort of map by using this type of state, like US state, Tableau will not recognize these names as state names. Tableau will consider it as string. So as part of analyst, we have to remove these dots so that we should tell Tableau that this is not only a string, but we should consider this as a US state. So, and then only we can create a US map. So these are a couple of checks which we should do so that we can perform some sort of analysis. Now, coming back to this Tableau, let me see. Now, this is the data set which we are talking about, right? I am not doing anything. I just imported this particular data set and I want to start my analysis. Now, here you can see the data which I ingested is giving me these type of names. There is no meaningful names at all. We have F1, F2, F3. No one understands what exactly F1, F2, F3 is talking, is informing us. So we have to be very careful with the names so that whoever is creating a dashboard, they should create a meaningful dashboard. So first, the data set which we are using is not good as per our analysis requirement. And the reason is Tableau has no idea what all column names should be considered as column. So because of null value, because of header, and the reason I'll tell you, here also you can see there is a header. So Tableau is not aware that which particular rows Tableau should consider for their analysis. So this is the reason why I am emphasizing data cleanup should be your first step. Otherwise, you won't be able to create a meaningful storyline. So how exactly we can do that? Now, if you are not using Tableau, and if your manager has asked you to do the data cleanup using Excel and then use any open source tool or any BI tool, at least as per my understanding, you have to spend 30 minutes just to do a data cleanup. You have to remove this header. You have to remove this header. You have to make sure this should not end up with double counting. You have to remove this period symbol. You have to remove this particular row, empty row. You have to remove these footers. So definitely it's a time consuming process. And if you have to do it inside Tableau, if you have to do it inside Excel using Excel techniques, then I'm pretty sure you will be spending at least 15 minutes, not less than that. And if you are proficient enough, you can definitely do within 10 minutes. But for a normal human being, you have to spend close to 30 minutes just to perform a data cleanup. Now, what if I say the entire stuff, whatever problems or whatever issues that we discuss, we can do almost 90% of the cleanup within 10 seconds inside Tableau. So don't you think we are saving quite a number of times and we can utilize our time for doing some other stuff? So that's the beauty of Tableau, what we are talking about. So here you can see a very simple step which people often ignore most of the time. There is something called use data interpreter. So I'll give you a little bit of idea what exactly a data interpreter and how exactly one should use this. So before this data interpreter, like if you were using Tableau 8.3 or Tableau 9.1, earlier it was not data interpreter. They used to call data reshapper. So Tableau developed a Excel plugin. You have to install it and you have to provide certain instruction. The moment you run that plugin, it will do the data cleanup. But we are again moving out of Tableau. We don't want to do that. Every time for a data cleanup, we have to go to Tableau. We have to download that Excel plugin and we have to run that plugin on top of this data. And then only the data cleanup was happening. So what Tableau decided, instead of creating a third-party dependency, why not we integrate the same feature inside Tableau? So they integrated this feature inside Tableau and they named it as data interpreter. After that, Tableau introduced Tableau Prep, and all these processes are pretty straightforward. So if you are familiar with Tableau Prep, you can do all these steps within 5 to 10 minutes. But we are not talking about Tableau Prep. I'm just giving you an idea how exactly we can do that inside Tableau Desktop if you don't have Tableau Prep license. So with Tableau Interpreter, you can perform pivoting of the columns, you can reformat data, you can perform some splitting, you can change the data type and make sure the data type which you should use, that should come from the step one. And you can also hide some data which is not needed for your further analysis. So these are the steps which you need to do. So we'll perform these steps so that we should understand how exactly data cleanup should be done using this data interpreter. So just imagine we have this data set and we have to perform this. So what you need to do, you have to select this checkbox, use data interpreter. The moment you select this checkbox, Tableau runs a process like internally. Tableau AI engine is capable enough to understand what needs to be done. And the moment I selected this checkbox, you can see we have some meaningful name. Earlier, it was coming as F1, F2, F3, and we are not sure what exactly we should do. But just using this checkbox, within 10 seconds, within 5 seconds, we have done some cleanup. But we are not done yet. Still, we have to perform certain steps. Now, why exactly we need it? Just because we know this data, that's why we have to do? It's not. The reason, first, we should ask what all things you want to perform. So a very simple example, I want to perform certain analysis which can give me some sort of trend, or like I want to generate a US map and talks about which particular state is having maximum population. So these are two very simple scenarios. So let's focus on this one. As we already mentioned, we have these reasons which could lead to a double counting. And if you see for 2010, we have two data sets. We have two columns which talks about 2010. So why not we take something which is more meaningful and it should not give me some incorrect result. So we will perform some data cleanup. So what all data steps which we need to perform as a cleanup steps? So let's start with this particular first column. As you can see, even it's a geographic state, but because of the period symbol, Tableau is considering as a string. And how exactly we are getting this idea? You can see we are seeing this as a string. So if you want to create a map, you need a latitude and longitude. But because Tableau is considering this field as a geographic area, Tableau is not generating the latitude and longitude, right? So we have to perform some steps so that Tableau should consider these names as US state. So as first step, what we do, will perform a split. So here you can see we have a inbuilt process which we call it as split. So the moment you do a split, nothing happens, right? Let's do a custom split. Now it will ask what exactly you want to split, whether you want to perform first step or whether you want to perform from the right or left. So it's completely your choice. So this is the period symbol which we want to separate from the actual name. So I'm using this. The moment
Rajeev, just to let you know,
Yes.
we need to wind this up in a minute, Rajeev. We have Rob to go as well, and we're running short on time now. So carry on, but yeah, if you could just maybe, is it through?
Okay. Let me. Yep. Absolutely. So we have to perform this cleanup, and let's do that split. And so the moment we are doing a split, we are getting certain names, and based on that, we are getting certain names, right? So these are the split which we did. Now here we can change the data type. So if we change the data type and if we define as state, you can see Tableau automatically start recognizing this as a state, and you can generate a latitude and longitude. Now we are not done yet. The next step, we need to hide some data which is not meaningful at all. So what I am doing, I will hide some unuseful columns which is not needed for our analysis. You can either delete it or hide it. It's completely your call. Now, next step, whenever we need to perform some trend, we have to pivot the data. Then only we can perform some analysis. So here also, these two columns that is not needed for our analysis. So I'll simply hide this. And for one moment, let me do that. This simply hide this, and now simply do the pivot. And as you can see, okay, before performing that steps, to make it more meaningful, we know these are the population estimate, right? Simply name it 2011 and more like this way, so that whenever we will create an axis, it should provide you a meaningful name. So I'm just removing as a prefix and some. Yep.
Are you ready to wrap this up in a minute? Because we've got Rob to come, and it's just running out of time now, Rajeev.
Okay, just a moment. Let me just allow me 5 minutes. Okay, so let me just quickly hide that part. Okay, so once we are done with this, simply do a pivot, and simply I'm doing a pivot, and you can see certain names. So we know this is an year and this is a population. Okay, so simply go here, you perform that, and just click here. It will generate a US map, and you have year also. You can put that as a filter. Let's take an example. I'm only focusing on 2014, and we have population. Now we have a double counting, as we already know. So what we can do, we can exclude those states or instead of doing that, because we already split that value, it will come as null. So simply keep this, and you are good to go. So you can see certain value, and if you want to see a trend, it will be in that way. So you can perform certain steps, which is a lot easier. And these are the steps which we need to perform. And So there are a couple of things which we need to understand whenever we are using a data interpreter. It's not like you can use all the data set at one go. There should be some limitation. If the data set which you are using, that should not be more than 2000 columns, and it should not be more than 3000 rows. So this is one of the limitation. And when it comes to a data set, we have to be very careful, like it should be Excel text or PDF files before using this data interpreter. And this is the outcome which we will be getting once we do the data cleanup, and we know California is having maximum population, and you can get that from dataset. And these are the best practices which we should do. Like you should make sure whatever data cleanup which you are doing, that should be from the step one rather than doing at dashboard level, just to provide a meaningful outcome to your story. And that's all from my end.
Thank you, Rajeev. Thank you very so much for that. That was really insightful. Really appreciate that. Everyone, like I said, this will be recording, so apologies for the rush at the end. But if you want to watch the recording and then yeah, go over that last piece of some of those slides that Rajeev would put up, then that'd be beneficial, I think. Right then, over to Rob, our data science developer. Rob, take it away.
Cool. Is that coming through okay?
Yep, we're all good.
Beautiful. So yeah, thanks, Rob. This presentation covers one particular aspect of OzMinerals' journey with Tableau, and describes how an early pain point was turned into improved development practices within OzMinerals. I've called this Everyone's Dash is a Little Different, and What to Do About It. But I can't claim the IP for the title, unfortunately. That one belongs to my wife. I've borrowed it from her after paying the required fee of dinner at her favourite restaurant. It's part of the story she created for our cafe, Urban Paddock Co., which is at Flinders Station Plaza in the Flinders Union Hospitals precinct. And in that context, the title represents understanding of customers' different coffee preferences. But obviously, that's not why we're here. We're here for the OzMinerals journey with Tableau. So let's start with OzMinerals. So we're a modern mining company, and reflected in the Ozway, which is in the bottom corner of the graphic in the bottom corner there. We're focused on the ethical and responsible mining of minerals, keeping in mind a low carbon future. Our strategy is based on value creation for all our stakeholders. And our modern approach also evidenced in our technology base, which obviously includes Tableau, as well as our how we work together principles, which define our values, behaviours, and company culture. We're based in SA, head office is at Adelaide Airport. We have 2 mines in South Australia as well. One's at Prominent Hill, which is 650 k's northwest of Adelaide, and also Carrapateena, which is 160 kilometres north of Port Augusta. We have a new project at West Musgrave in WA, as well as some mining operations in Brazil. But on to our journey with Tableau. That commenced back in 2019, about mid-year. But as shown in this little graphic, our publishing to Tableau server didn't really take off to 2021. So it's that 2020 part that I'm really covering in this presentation, and how we turn that around. So a bit of a review identified a few things to address. One is the change management. So we needed to do a bit of like selling of the solution within the business. We needed to address the we needed to reshape the development and support team, as well as address some of the initial usage frustrations, issues, and challenges that were encountered along the way. And that's where I'm focusing this presentation on as well. So in categorizing those issues, I've actually used slightly adjusted movie titles. And the examples that I've included with those are recreations or close approximations of the original, and not really the original themselves. So the first one is Honey, I Shrunk the Viz. So at OzMinerals, we have dashboards that can be displayed on 3 different screen sizes. So we have large wall-mounted displays, we have widescreen desk monitors, and Surface Pro or similar sized devices. And what we found was some of our early workbooks were published with the sizing set to automatic or with the min-max settings in place. And unfortunately, on the Surface Pro or those type of devices, some of the visuals were reduced to hash marks as shown there. My next category is, dude, where's my filters? So this has three facets to it. One is actually including all the filters that are required to actually use the dashboard. Next one is the placement. So do we go to the left, to the right? Do we include it in the header? Do we use a show hide button? And then there's what about filters that only apply to one visual on a dashboard? And another consideration was identifying the data source or extract filters that were in place on a particular dashboard. Next up is what I've called missing in dashboard action. And this is really looking at the lack of awareness of interactivity that users encountered. In this case, we're looking at obviously the filtering from the map to the table or from the chart to the table in these particular examples, but also like actions such as URL links and highlighting. Next up is the sum of all views. So this one is really covering about placing too much information on a dashboard. So where should a user look first with that much info there? And if that was unavoidable, as was the case with the one on the right, we need to be conscious of the performance impacts of having multiple views on a sheet, all querying the data when loading. So that one on the right there was actually a live connection initially, but a bit slow to load. This one I've called the color purple and red, blue, green, yellow, orange. So this covers the variations in color selection and usage between our developers in the team. It also covers the overwhelm factor for users. So the difficulty it presents for them to process that amount of color and glean useful information quickly from a graphic. And then we've also got the loss of color as a pre-attentive attribute. My final category I've called Ready Dashboard 1, which is just a result of using the default sheet names when publishing to the server, which obviously has its consequence when doing a search on the server for a particular dashboard. So what did we do about it? Well, our first step was actually to do some research. We decided to find out what others had done and determine what we could actually use within Oz Minerals. Some of the information we obtained from websites and blogs, but our actual primary source was workbooks that have been published to Tableau Public. So our initial product, the result of this exercise, was obtained from ideas in the first three listed there: Tableau's own visual style guide, the one from Simon Beaumont and JLL, and Jovan Lekovic and BBC's BBC Audiences style guide. In our subsequent review of our standards, we also included the Doughty Business Solution and Alex Barakov's Luxov style guide. So at this point, I should really give thanks to all of those for sharing their creations on Tableau Public. So next phase was actually creating something ourselves, and we developed the Oz Minerals Tableau dashboard and visualization standards. And that had three aims. So across our team, we wanted to achieve a common design and development approach, which allowed our developers to focus more on development, as the standards obviously included significant design decisions predefined. And finally, we also achieved a consistent look and feel, which allowed our users to focus more on the content of the dashboards rather than trying to discover the individual functional nuances of each workbook that they went to use. In application, We don't have our standards as hard and fast. We allow for deviations provided they're justified. And I guess it's like the pirate code in Pirates of the Caribbean. Perhaps in that case, they're more like guidelines. So what did we cover in our standards? This one was actually included in our second revision and not our first. So we've thrown in a couple of quotes here from Steve Wexler and Martin LeBlanc, just as a reminder of what we're trying to achieve with our dashboard solutions. We've included some questions for our developers to consider when planning their dashboards. And we've also reminded them to use wireframing or mock-ups during this phase. So we use Balsamic, but obviously there are plenty of other mock-up and wireframing tools available. Next, we covered dashboard layout. So in terms of sizing our dashboards, we went with 1400 by 800. That provided a balance between widescreen and Surface Pro type viewing, with the latter just having a minimal of horizontal scrolling. And that overcame the hash mark issues that I showed earlier. Given that we're using guidelines rather than hard and fast rules, it also allowed for device-based sizing when the primary use is for another size, such as the large wall-mounted screens. The rest of this standard focused on content amount, such as the key metrics, which are we suggest 4 to 6, and the same for the number of visual elements. We've got a predetermined layout, which has a header section, a filters and action section, visualizations, and a footer section. And finally, we include some presentation factors covering the use of padding, containers, and separating elements. Interactivity is next up. So in terms of action awareness for our users, our original release proposed small coloured circles to be placed alongside the visuals heading to indicate the presence of an action. That's the little shape on the right there. And beneath that is our another trial that we did to indicate a filter being available. Neither of those really hit the mark. So our current recommendation is just to provide something that is clear and recognisable. So for example, if we're including a URL link, we might want to format the text for that URL so it looks like the URL, like this in standard web use. Our tooltips, we've suggested that they contain supplementary information only rather than repeating existing data that's already observable in the visual, as well as providing some text formatting recommendations and suggestions for Visin tooltip use. And finally, this sheet addresses the filter issues that I mentioned before. So we want disclosure of our data source and extract filters in some way. Obviously, if that's extensive, that might not fit on a dashboard sheet itself, in which case we suggest perhaps using an overlay toggle to display the information. In terms of filter placement, we've included that within a section on the left side of our dashboards, except when there's only 1 to 2 filters required for a dashboard sheet, in which case we can put them in the header. For those filters that only apply to a single visual, our recommendation is to put that near the visual itself and make sure the user is aware of the limited effects that the filter has. We included a standard on colour. Obviously, we want that to be used for purpose and not decoration. We included the graphic there from the Big Book of Dashboards, just to serve as a reminder of the ways of using colour for purpose. Red and green use is significant in a lot of our charts, particularly for lean meetings at Oz Minerals. So what we've done there is to include some CBD-friendly strategies to supplement red and green colouring. And finally, our new colour palettes use the approved corporate colours with a plus and minus 20% shading option, as well as created some categorical palettes to cover our stakeholder metrics and our asset segments. We looked at fonts, so in line with our corporate style guide, we went with Segoe UI. In terms of text colouring, we like to limit that to black or white, depending on the colour background, and that's reflected back on our colour palette use, so the text in each is what's recommended. And we've also provided some indications on font size for the various text elements associated with dashboards, as well as a recommended casing. So we've opted to go with start case for titling, so capitalising the first letter of each word. Finally, our final standard covered data and access formats. So here we cover our preferences for percentage, decimal, negative and large number, currency and date formatting. One of the ones here is relevant to decimals, so we only include enough decimals to convey the required insight. So that brought to mind a variation to Tina Turner's hit from Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, and we don't need another zero. We're strong believers that the data to ink ratio should emphasise data. So we attempt to minimise elements like tick marks and grid lines, or at least make them as faint as possible if they're needed. And in terms of access labelling, we also are strong on the use of horizontal text alignment in preference to vertical. So we don't have our users doing the old turn of the head to try and read stuff. Like any good movie, we have a great supporting cast as well. So we've got a dashboard template set up, which can be used as a starting point, as shown on the right there. So we have the header with titles and subtitles, and we also include a data update timestamp on the right-hand side. The footer includes the workbook owner name and email address in case of contact needs. Our filter section, as suggested, is on the left, and then we have the KPI and visual content with containers used to separate those. We include team-based weekly design reviews. So we have multiple sets of eyes from those not involved with the actual development, providing some feedback to the developer about layouts, content, and everything related to these standards. So sometimes as the actual developer, you might feel like you're getting an arrow between the eyes, but our team is actually really good at realizing the importance that is necessary for achieving a quality solution for our users. And our final element is the technical reviews, which we conduct just prior to production release. We cover the query and loading performance of workbooks. We look at coding standards, obviously naming as well, ensuring the default names are replaced. We also do a bit of a workbook tidy up to remove any unused items. In summary, my closing thoughts, this is an ongoing process. It's to find the right balance that still allows for developer creativity and flair, but still delivering a consistent user experience, not just across published dashboards, but also within them. That's it. Look, thanks for your time, and I hope there was something beneficial.
Alrighty, Rob, I reckon you're on mute. I can see the mouth mute. No, you're on mute on Zoom there.
Okay.
There we go. Now I can hear
Perfect. Thank you for that, guys. Thank you for that, Rajeev. Thank you for that, Rob. Really appreciate that. Just to wrap this up, we've got a merch giveaway. After using our random name generator, we've gone with Oleg Piperton. Apologies if I've pronounced his surname incorrectly, but Oleg Piperton, you will get some merch. If you we'll be in touch with you, and we'll get some stuff, a giveaway for you in the post. So thank you for that, guys. Just a quick one, like I said, if you can help the community grow, if you want to present at the next meeting, invite your friends, invite your colleagues, get involved. We're more than happy to have you along and assist us with things. This is recorded, so you want the recording, I can always pop it out to you. But guys, I really appreciate that. Have a good Christmas, have a lovely New Year, and we will see you again in February. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you.